What is happening, everybody? What is happening? Welcome back to another episode of the Acknowledge Him podcast. Before we do anything, before we get into everything, we have to acknowledge him. Father God, we just thank you for this meeting. We thank you for this episode. We thank you for the people. We thank you for allowing this to be something where people get to hear you, see you in ways that they may not know to expect tonight. So we just thank you for our viewers. We thank you for everyone who takes time to listen, even if it's just for 2 minutes, Lord. We just thank you for that time and allow what you're saying to be in alignment with what we're saying. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. What's going on, my brother? How you doing today?
I am all right. I'm all right. How are we feeling?
Feeling good, feeling great, feeling rested. Today was a big day of rest. And I'm actually interested in talking about this because you was the one who hit me up with this early this week. And I'm like, we should talk about this. we should talk about this. This is something that I think this would be beneficial, for a lot of people, because I think there are people who have this question looming in the back of their minds. It's like, is it okay for me to play this? Especially if some of the games have a lot of fantasy references or there's a lot of violence in the video game. It makes people think, should I still play this? Does this go against my faith and things of that nature? So definitely wanted to chop it off with that. And I wanted to kick this off with, we asked the question, can a Christian play a video game? But I want to take it a step further. I'm taking a page from you. Is it more in the line of should Christians play video games? And if they can, or if they should, then what are the contexts surrounding that? So this is probably going to be a deep dive type of episode. This is not going to be probably like the normal episode by any stretch of the imagination. But what are your thoughts, my brother?
Well, there are a lot. So, you hit that. And I've been saying this for years, but I didn't know that they actually said it on, what was that movie, Jurassic Park? Where it's like, you spend so much time asking if you can, but I don't think you were wondering if you should. So there's a big difference between can and should, and you brought that up. So we can hit that. Can you do this? Well, okay, sure. Should you? And I think that is where we come into the personal of it. You're building a relationship. For instance, there are some things that are just like flat no's, as a married man. Can I cheat on my wife? Yeah, I can, but you shouldn't. So that's just wrong. But then you have things that are not necessarily wrong. Like, remember how Paul said that he said not all things are expedient, which means that there are some things that are not necessarily bad, but you still shouldn't do it. Do I feel that it's bad to watch a television program? We could talk about that because video games encompass a lot, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment. So
especially today with video games becoming TV shows now.
Right. I blame the bouncer. So
Streets of Rage.
No, Streets of Rage didn't have like 20-minute cutscenes. Like the bouncer, I'm just like, where's the game? But yeah, it's just, can you play or can you watch an episode of a medical TV show? Yeah, you can. Should you? Well, now you're going to get into things that are personal, because the title that you have here, can a Christian play video games? That's just like, video games? What do you mean? Are you talking like
Pong?
Are you talking about Pong? Are you talking about, when you say a Christian, what kind of Christian? Because let's say that you
I did that for a reason. I did that for a reason.
We're not all the same in the body. We're all Christians, but I'm coming from a pastoral standpoint. You playing a game for 2 hours is not the same thing as me playing a game for 2 hours. In a pastoral position, as a pastor, do I really want to play this game for 2 hours? Now, I'm not saying that you're evil for it, you understand. What I'm saying is that because of my responsibilities, you've got a lot of different ways that this question can be answered. So I'll stop right there for now.
So what I would say with that, I'm glad you brought it up, because it's like it all depends on your responsibilities and the things. It goes back to can or should you. Like you said, if you're a pastor and everything, then you really have to audit your time and the things that you're doing. It's not to say that you can't play a video game. It's like spending, and because another thing goes into what type of video games. Because if you are doing fitness boxing or a type of fitness workout with a video game, then technically that could be worked out with you getting your workout in. Put it in context. If you're doing that with your family, that's a family workout session that you're using a video game as a base to get that done. So the question by itself is so generic, but I worded it that way for a reason, because there have been so many people who have come with the opinions of, video games are this, video games are that, video games this, and it's such a blanket statement towards what video games are. But at the end of the day, which I'm glad you brought up, it's a form of media. So the question is, how are you using this form of media? Because if we're going to put a big magnifying glass over video games, then we're going to need to put that same magnifying glass over TV shows, over anime, over movies, over books, over magazines. You're going to over sports, even. You're going to have to put
sports is a form of entertainment.
You're going to have to put that same level of scrutiny. Just because the entertainment looks different, what you're entertained by looks different, what other people are entertained by, then you have to look at that from a different perspective. So it goes into a bigger question: is it wrong to be entertained? And I think that's where we get into more of a media side of this topic, because now we get to look at, well, what are you entertained by? Are you entertained by people's guts blowing up all over the wall somewhere? Do you find that entertaining? Or do you find it entertaining to go against monsters and making sure you're slaying demons? Do you find that entertaining where it's like you're the one destroying demons? Do you find that entertaining? It goes where your mind is at. Now, there is some things that I want to put into that, because it goes into, and I think we could bring up this could be a strong case of Romans 13. You can let me know if you agree. Whereas you have liberties, but you have to make sure your liberties are not causing your brother or your sister to stumble. Would you agree?
Yeah, I wanted to hit on a lot of things that you were talking about. I do agree as far as you were saying, hindering your brother. Yes.
Yeah.
Can
you want to? Yeah. I thought it was going to be. Yeah. That's. Would you agree that we should be mindful to not, with the entertainment we choose, whether it's video games, movies, or what have you, that whether we are a creator in that space or whether we are an onlooker and a consumer in that space, that we don't put it to make it seem like that our brother is compromised. And Nick has joined the party. What is going on, my brother?
I gotta fix this webcam, but I'm doing all right. It's so dark, but I can't get the webcam settings to come up, so I'll fix that in the meantime. How's everybody going? How's everybody doing?
We're doing good.
Doing well. I was looking forward to this one with you.
Oh yeah,
yeah, man.
What's the topic? Where are we at here with this this topic right now?
We're just basically touching on, if you touch video games net with that same line of scrutiny, then you got to come at all forms of entertainment. And if you're talking about all forms of entertainment, now we have to ask the question, well, what are you entertained by? And then that becomes, which is the matter of the heart. And if you go into the matters of the heart with this, Now we have to really go into Romans 13 again with liberties. And even though you are not convicted by this, are you causing your brother or sister to stumble by speaking about certain things or bringing certain aspects of your entertainment around them?
That's tough. Let's just start with the whole stumbling thing. I mean, that's that's a hard topic because there's a lot of times, I'm gonna be real, there's a lot of times, like, you know, when talking about anime with certain dudes at church, where I know that there's certain things they can't watch because, you know, how there's certain shows that are really lewd, you know what I mean, with the fan service, if you will. I know dudes that struggle with that, so it's hard to suggest shows to dudes or like who are genuine anime fans, right? Who want to watch, they love Dragon Ball Z, the My Heroes, and even My Hero in some cases gets a little touchy on the fan service, right? It's hard to suggest shows for the brother that you know that struggles with stuff like that. But that's a really that's actually a good topic, because I was going to come into it and be like, nah, man, it's not idolatry. You know, if you like it, you know, as long as you're good with your walk, you know, you're good. As long as it's not anything that's sinful to you, you're good. But now you bring up the whole making your brother stumble. That's a whole different topic that I think is much deeper and harder to approach than, is this good for me? Like, is playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth good for me? You know what I mean? Like I could talk about that all day. Me and you playing the same game right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it good for me? Heck yeah, bro. Like I'm I'm not gonna, like, here's the deal. I played this game and I literally said, thank you, God, for video games, because this is so this game, like, for real, this game is so awesome, right? And I literally said that. I literally said that, like, bro, this is so awesome. How awesome is it that we live in a world?
It's a great game, though.
Right. But how good is it that we live in a world where we have this form of entertainment?
Definitions of the word great.
Right. But you know what I mean? Like, how I can't stand Yofi.
I didn't say good.
This man, Yofi. This man always want to say semantics. But you get what I'm saying? Like how cool is it that we live in an era where we get to play a game like this, that's this in depth, that gives us nostalgia of a game that we loved when we were younger. You know what I mean? Like, I literally was like, yo, bro, God's good, bro. Thank God for video games. I get to experience this. You know what I'm saying? So that was one thing for me. But yeah, this whole making your brother stumble, that's a whole different and hard topic to approach, for real, because,
well, we gotta talk about it, because I think that that's a really big thing. You know, you guys,
right,
you know, my testimony, I've talked about it for a while. And God delivered me from all kinds of lust. Well, guess what? I mean, like, and I'm not downing anybody. I never try to down anybody when I give my testimony, you know, because people are like, you know, you think you're this and you think you're that. And I was like, trust me, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm just talking about the fact that it was terrible going through what I went through. You can get married and this thing does not go away. You know what I'm saying? And there's no filling it, no matter how many women you get with, no matter how much stuff you look up on the internet. You know what I'm talking about? Corn picking. I'm talking about corn. You know, you told me to use that word so that we don't get demonetized. But Correct. It's like, you know, it doesn't matter. There's no end to it. So I'm like, with that, the same nostalgia that people get from Final Fantasy VII, I get temptation. There's no way I'm ever buying it. I'm never buying Final Fantasy again, because I was so weird. Now, this is not you guys, but I was so weird. I had crushes on, like, Roxanne from a Goofy movie. Like, my mind was so messed up growing up that I just know that it's probably not a good idea for me to spend 50, 60 hours on this. So I tell you what, I'll chat with the guys, because that doesn't harm me. You know, like, I'm not the type of person to where, like, if I see a clip from that I'm going to go off the deep end. However, I'm also the type to say, you probably shouldn't spend 60 hours on this, because what's going to happen is that it'll start off with 60 hours and you'll be fine, but then you'll get that game. and then you'll get this thing, and then you'll start,
I feel you,
and
man.
you'll start going it. So I know how the rabbit hole works with Yofi Smith. So I'm like, look, enjoy it, because it's a time where you can talk with your brothers about, this game that has brought you nostalgia. Because aside from the fact that Yofi Smith, you were a little cuckoo in the head and you had crushes on every single character that you could have, you were trying to name your kids after video game characters. You know what I mean? Like you're pretty weird. But it's like, at the same time, this is not that. What I'm doing is I'm having a discussion with my brothers about character development, because at the, as much, I'm still a writer, right? I'm still a writer. So to talk about the character development between characters like Cloud or Sephiroth, or how different Aerith is in this iteration, because you remember when I played the game, it was Aerith.
Oh, it was all Aerith for all of us, dog.
Yeah, like because of Japanese translation errors, so it's just like, I do like discussing culture and those types of things. However, I also know you are the type of person to go, you're the type of person to plunge deep into things. So you might not want to buy the game just yet, just, especially being in a position of pastoring, my focus has to be in a different spot. So when you're talking about, can Christians play video games? The answer is yes. Which games? Now you're talking. Should a Christian play video games? Sometimes the answer needs to be yes, because you can, but it depends on which game and which Christian.
I would say,
as a pastor who has an issue with, or not has, or grew up with these types of issues, no, I shouldn't play certain games. No, there's no way. Hey, you want to get up and you want to buy the new Duke Nukem? No, I don't want to.
Nah, bro.
Like, no, what are you talking?
No.
Why would I spend time playing it? It's in that game.
Right.
So it's just like, so should this Christian play certain video games? No. Can a Christian play video games? Yeah, I think that we can, and I think that we should.
Go ahead.
You know what I mean?
No, it's just like like I said, it just really comes down to topic of games. Like, should a Christian play Call of Duty because you're literally shooting people? You know what I mean? Like yeah, like you can literally go into that, and like it's a real touchy topic, because it seems like there's so many rules, there's so many different variables to what you got to do. Like, for you, like you said, Yofi's like, I'm not playing no video games because I know where this could lead. This could lead to more idolatry.
I would say no video games. That's I'm not playing that one.
Okay, but you like, I'm not playing that because this could lead to more idolatry, things like that. Like, man, that's tough. Like, I really literally want to go down through this list of video games and be like, should a Christian play Call of Duty, Halo, every game, Smash, Super Smash Bros. You know what I mean? Like, I want to go through all these list of games and just sort of break them down. But then I feel like that gets really legalistic at the end of the day when you start going through what games you can and can't play. Like what we think. It's just crazy.
And that's the thing I wanted to say. It's all about what games are fit for who. Like, not every game is going to be for everybody, and I think that's something that we need to remember. It's like, not every game is going to be fit for everybody. Some games, like, I would say, Aaron says Call of Duty was his joint.
Why are you not on the stream, bro?
I never liked Call of Duty.
Like, why is Eric not on?
Bro, gone, man.
But yeah, but I was gonna say, here's the thing. With not even so much time with Call of Duty, but I would even say with some certain fighting games or platformers, video games could teach younger children hand-eye coordination at an early age very well. If you train them like how to play, like teach them how to play a platformer. This guy, if you teach them how to play like Mario at a young age, you're teaching them hand and eye coordination. So it's like, the question is, now, is Mario bad? It's like, should a Christian play Mario? Like you said, you could get super legalistic with that.
Yeah, you really could.
You could get it, well, Mario's okay and everything. And then if you really wanted to be that person, well, he Mario operates in witchcraft because he shoots fire from his hands and everything. He has magic.
Okay.
Hey, why you gotta put the preach voice on there with that though? Why
He's been doing that for ages, dog. He always do that. He's been doing this for ages, bro.
I'm
you
just
gotta make it look like. First of all, it is witchcraft, okay? Because you're summoning fire. Okay?
Here we go. Here we go.
All right.
Here we go.
I'm not again. Look, I'm not knocking Mario. I used to be, but no, truth, guys, I used to be very legalistic. If anyone who's known me in my earlier Christian years, you know, I was never very big on holidays, but there was no holiday that was celebrated in my house that wasn't the day of Pentecost, and you know, like Resurrection Sunday. That was it, because it's like it has to be strictly Christian holidays. But the thing is that, you know, we have to consider, first of all, like my wife didn't grow up the way that I did. So, and she's not me. So to say like, no, you're not going to be able to, I wouldn't even, especially like Valentine's Day, that's pagan. We're not going to do any of that. And, you know, it had an impact because I was considering more of, like you're saying, the do's and don'ts more so than the actual people. And that's what I mean as far as, can a Christian, that's too broad. All right, Corinthians got a letter, Ephesians got a letter, Romans got a letter. They were different people, and they had different issues. You can't just be like, oh, one thing is the same for every single person. I'm like, you can't really do that, because you're not going to be able to address everything. There are 365 million people in America, and you're going to tell every single person in America that they can't play Final Fantasy. I'm like, that's kind of tough to be able to do that. And also you got to think, what gives you the authority to do that? Because in the Bible, it doesn't address, you know, entertainment. It addresses what's sin and what's not sin. Now, if something causes you to sin, Jesus said, cut it off. Hence, I'm not buying certain things. Certain things are not coming into my house. You know, like, however, those things might not cause this brother to sin. So I'm not going to go up to you and be like, oh, you're sinning. And I promise you that's going to lead you to sin. You know, I promise you that game of that card game of I declare war, you know, I declare war. Yep, that's going to lead you to sin because it's cards. You know what I mean? It's cards. So I was like, well, maybe that leads you to sin. But
or the chessboard, that's Illuminati. You got the chessboard. That's what the Illuminati uses in their floors.
They do?
With people who have said that with the chessboard and everything, how it's the same as the Illuminati floors and the black and white tiles.
Or maybe that was just the cheapest way to make the board, to know how many.
Yeah, I'm just saying what people say, what's thrown out there, how legalistic, how deep that rabbit hole can go.
Somebody was on YouTube. You know those videos. You know what I'm talking about.
You got the spooky music videos that I'm like, yo, like a brother sent me something, right? And he sent me something that made me just feel, oh, I bit my lip. I'll be right back. I bit my lip real fast.
Bro, bit his lip.
It's the Illuminati.
Bro, bit his lip, man.
Disney and Nintendo Illuminati stuff.
That's crazy.
But I know what he's talking about, because I used to be just like those videos. I mean, everything that was my conviction needed to be everyone's conviction. And I think we have to be very careful about that, you know, about our convictions being everyone's convictions. That's where you get all the denominations from. Because it's like, if my conviction is not your conviction, you're not even Christian. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like,
right, bro. That's
really, and I was like, and some of these issues are not salvation issues. Certain video games are not salvation issues. Now, I will tell you this: certain video games, or I'll even say all video games. Now I got to play like Angel's Advocate. If you're going to be playing video games and you're going to be spending time, you know, even if it's not, wicked, certain cartoon level, you know what I'm saying? There was some, I'm just saying, I was in Nintendo eShop and they had certain things that were rated for teen that started with the word hen, if you know what I mean. And I'm like, how is this rated T for teen? But you know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And I'm like, if you're going to be playing any games in general for hours and hours at a time, you're not going to be raising the dead like Jesus did. Let's just you're not. How many Americans do you know are going around healing the sick and raising the dead that aren't fakes? You know what I'm talking about. You paid the guy to get out of that wheelchair. You know, now I know personally, I have prayed and seen people get out of wheelchairs. I've seen it. I know people on my team who have raised the dead. You know, one of my trainers, who trained me in praying for the sick. He raised 7 people from the dead. Then again, he's a first responder. He sees a lot of dead people. So I'm like, you know, he gets that chance. But I'm like, you're not going to do that playing video games. So I understand that. However, the Bible doesn't say, you know, that if you're not raising the dead every single time that you see a corpse, oh, you're not making it in. You're not in the kingdom. What the Bible says is Paul is like, I would that everyone be like me. But he's not condemning anybody who's married, because if you're married, chances are you're not going to be able to raise the dead like that. You know why? Because you got to focus on your wife. You probably got kids. You got a lot of things. As a married man, there are a lot of things that are hindering me from the full, you know what I mean? As people would say, the anointing, you know. But there are a lot of things that are hindering me because I do have to be more concerned with my wife. My wife calls me right now and says, you know, Yofi, we have a situation. I got to go. Whereas somebody who is fully dedicated to gospel, no video games, no TV, no nothing. Well, guess what? They're probably going to see a lot more miracles than I do.
And they're going to do a lot more kingdom work too.
Yeah.
And after I said this, I wanted to chime in to give Aaron some space.
Yeah.
But one thing that I was going to say is, like, you can get legalistic because people, like I was saying before, I'll still get it out. People said the Illuminati with the whole checkerboards and everything. People be on YouTube with spooky music. I had a brother who sent me something. I stopped watching. I said, bro, I don't listen to anything with that spooky music on there. I said, that tells me that you're trying to force your point to look a certain way when you got the spooky music background. So that's one. But to what you're saying, I would say we kind of talked about this last week, if you remember. We kind of talked about this last week with media and everything, and how sometimes we as people, we are overly supercharged with some of the media that we have. I want people to realize something. What would have cost tens of thousands of dollars 20 years ago, we can get at a fraction of that price in our hands. I want people to think about this. Like 20 years ago, this would have cost as much as a house does now. This would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Easy. And the fact is, the reason I'm pointing at this because this is another device that people could use to play video games. Easy. I could set up my PS5 remote play, and I could play my PS5 video game on here if I'm by my PS5 in vicinity and just click my control by Bluetooth. So can a Christian play a video game? Let's extend it further to, should a Christian play video games excessively?
I mean, at that point,
excessive.
Yeah. What do we? Yeah, we need to define excessive. Well, Google the word excessive. Let's just do that. Let's just Google the word excessive.
Okay, let me give a frame for that. Excessive to the part where time to grow in your purpose is sacrificed.
Never mind. Go ahead.
Well, I don't, because if that be the case, when it comes to video games, I think any video game, and this is me being angel advocate, any video game is tapping into your potential growth. Because, and I say it like this, these games are not made to teach you Christian morality.
They're not.
And they're not. So it's not going to, you're not going to get an epiphany. John didn't get revelation while he was playing a video game. Okay, he didn't get it while he was being entertained. He was in the spirit. So any video game, I believe, can hinder that. However, I'm also, I think the long game, you know, been married a long time, going on 18 years, right?
Go.
If I'm thinking the short game, there are certain things that are hindrances that in the long game, they're not.
There you
hindrance.
go.
So like, there could be a hindrance in this day of you playing this Final Fantasy. But in the long run, because let's say that you were thoroughly, like you got one of the biggest laughs out of, you know, you were playing Final Fantasy, right? The amount of stress that was reduced. And God also says that laughing is medicine. So let's say that you were really laughing at something and you were thoroughly like enjoyed that. And it wasn't a sin, but you also weren't growing in Christ. But because of that stress that you were reduced and the amount of laughter that was technically medicine, because laughter is medicine to the body as well. There are sometimes, what was that movie with Robin Williams, where his job was to come in and make the kids laugh, because it actually has been proven that laughter does help with healing, you know? So it's just like, let's say that you were doing that. In the long run, was this a hindrance?
Not at all.
You know what I mean? I don't think so. So
that's where I was getting at.
Man.
That's what I was getting at with this. I'm asking these questions because these are deep questions that people probably are asking. People are probably asking or saying, well, this is a waste of my time. So I wanted to challenge these things because, as you said, in the short run, yes. But in the long run, what if you thoroughly putting in that many hours puts you in a position where you could talk to somebody who's really lost, but that you played for hours one of their favorite games, and you could relate that to the gospel to them?
Did I mention that I can preach the gospel using Dragon Ball Z?
You have.
Rest in peace, Kira Toriyama.
Oh man,
that's
soon. I shouldn't have said it, man.
Y'all gonna let
that hurts.
It does hurt.
Oh man,
you gonna let our guy Aaron talk? He's just been sitting here.
Yo, go ahead, Aaron.
Well, they know I can talk a lot, so they just like let me sit down and be quiet. And I sometimes don't have filter, and Pastor Yofi got to put me in my place. But
look at him. You got the look already. You like,
but
try it.
No, for real. I got motion sickness, and my mom bought me every game from Nintendo all the way up to now. I mean, when I became a grown man, of course, I started buying my own game systems, but I always had a game system. But I think the game system also, with that time, you become more, you get a game more problem solving skills. I think my son, my youngest son, he's really good at math, and a lot of it I think he kind of gets with playing the game as well as in school with math. I think he gets that, like, he knows there's another way to beat the game, you know. So it, like with math and stuff, he feels like, oh, it's another way to get to the right answer, you know. So I think that kind of helped. I know with me, it helped with computers. You know, when I was playing the game system, all computers to me kind of work the same, you know, even if it's a game system, you know. So I think that's a good thing. But when COVID happened, I remember I went out and bought a PlayStation 4, and my wife came downstairs and was like, yo, are you serious? Y'all been playing this one for like 5 hours? Because as a teacher, that first 3 or 4 months, we didn't have to teach at all. We were just home. So I didn't have nothing else to do but to play the game. So I was just playing Spider-Man. And I was thinking, man, I could be using that time to do something else. But that's when my business got started. And I started working on filming and video editing. And a lot of that work that I was putting in the game got put into something else. So I can see where you guys are talking about, where you say, yeah, there's a time and a place for it. But then at the same time, it can kind of put you in a different direction where you can kind of put your time somewhere else. Where I was like, man, I was missing all that time I was playing the game. I missed business work. I could have started my business years ago instead of playing the game.
Yeah.
That's all I'd say.
I think really it comes down to two things, right? Like I like what Yofi said, like, you know, when Paul was living, Paul was really focused on one thing and one thing only, and that was the kingdom, right? And that was why he was able to basically write the majority of the New Testament, plant churches left and right, all over Asia, all over, into Europe, right? Like he was able to do all these things because that was his main focus. Now, I think that's a good point, because what does your time come? Me and Avidan talked about this when we was doing our video game podcast and our video game channels. Like, bro, all of our energy was legitimately in that. We was all about the news, doing podcasts, putting out videos, doing live streams. Like every bit of our free time went towards video games. Like for real. Like we was trying to grow channels, all sorts of stuff. Like I think at that point you could say that's idolatry, right? Like if we just got to be real about it, right? Like at that point, I need to do this. I need to play these games and participate this more than I need the word of God, or more than I need time with my family, or more than I need time with church family. You know what I mean? And that's where we were. So I would say Yofi bringing that up is a great point. And then we also got the other point of, okay, well, if you are enjoying these in moderate, like Avidan said, not excessively, then at what point or what genre or what kind of games do you need to really be playing? You know what I'm saying? So I think we could split that into two different camps there, as far as idolatry and excessive time, and that's the main thing you've been doing. And then also, is it permissible because maybe you shouldn't be watching dudes get shot in the chest, or maybe you shouldn't be playing Battlefield acting like you in the army shooting dudes in the chest. You know what I mean? Like I think that's kind of the two camps that we landed in.
For headshots,
Right. Like you get bonuses for you get critical bonus points for headshots, bro. Like, so
Double
I think
kill.
those are really the two camps that I'm really landing in. And it's just like, yeah, if the first thing you do, and I'm going to talk to myself here a little bit, if the first thing you do when you come home is, I need to relax, let me turn on this Xbox, let me turn on this PlayStation, I feel like that can be a bit of a problem. And then also, if you are letting certain things into your life and you may not even recognize it, it's easy to play a Resident Evil or something like that, and you just letting, like Resident Evil Village, let's just talk about that for a minute, because that game came out 2 years ago, and that was people going crazy over that. Like you don't know what you're letting in to your house playing games like that, right? You got to really guard your heart and guard your mind with these things. And not a lot of people are able to do that, or even recognize that, for real. If you're really thinking about it, it just depends on how you are in your walk, or how spiritually mature you are. I hate saying that, but like this really was what it comes down to. Like, are you able to guard your heart against these things, or are you just going to let that overtake you? Right. So I think that's the two camps that I would really lean into. I think that's where we're really going with this anyway.
I'm loving this, but we got to get Matt. Welcome back, brother.
Yo.
Hey,
Matt.
what's going on, guys?
Going good, man. Going good. How's your day going? And what is your take? And you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it because this is time I get to see you face to face. Congratulations. That's all I'm going to say. He knows I'm saying congratulations. I'm not going to put his business out there, but congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My day's going good. I was listening to you guys while we were driving back to the hotel, and trying to wait till I got some signal so I could jump on. But me and Yofi were kind of talking a little bit earlier. I'm kind of on the fence with this. I've heard heard all of you talk. Like, you could go both ways with it. You could really go like, no, it's a distraction. Or, you need to do something to enjoy life, because that's, God gave you life and you should enjoy it.
Right.
But, I've also heard you guys like make really good comments and points about, like, if it's coming between you and God, or it's causing you or your brother to stumble, or it's coming between you and your family, something that I've really been diving into a lot lately is marriages. And, that would be something for me that, early on, I know when me and my wife, before we were married, but when we were first, dating and stuff, it wasn't nothing. Like, I think that was when Final Fantasy VII came out the first time. And she left for work one morning, and I was sitting on the couch playing Final Fantasy at 7 o'clock in the morning. And when she came home that night at 8 o'clock, I was still sitting on the couch playing Final Fantasy 7. You know, and that can cause issues because there's other things that need to be done. You know, there's housework that needs to be done. You know, there's grass that needs to be cut.
Right.
Like that kind of stuff can cause problems. And, you know, I think it's really just like with everything else besides sin. You know, you got to take it in moderation.
Right.
Sin is an absolute negative, you know, an absolute, like, just stay out of it. But like everything else, you know, it's moderation.
Right. I think here's something I think in this topic, like if we're talking about that, how much time are you spending? I think there could be a lot. I think what we do, especially in the West, is we don't look at practicality or practices as a good thing. Like, I don't think there would be anything wrong if you know that you were more than able to, like Matt said, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'm playing Final Fantasy 7, right? I think there's nothing wrong with setting a timer and like, okay, I need to, you know what I'm saying? Like and to me, that's wisdom, right? Like, who's to say, okay, I'm going to play this game. I know that if I keep playing this game, I'm going to really get into it. Let me set this timer or an alarm. That way I know, okay, by this time I need to do these set things, right? I think there's a lesson in wisdom in that too. Because I think as Christians, we get really superficial about, well, if you can't just do it on your own, like, you shouldn't be doing it, right? I think there could also be a lesson in practicality and using practices and using things at your disposal that could help you form better habits, right? There's nothing wrong with playing video games, but set yourself a timer, 2 hours, an hour here, there, like, right? And then do the other things you need to do in life. Or you get home from work, let me study, let me play games for an hour to make sure I get that done, and then do the other things in life. You know what I'm saying? I think there's just a lesson in practicality here as well of using things to your advantage, such as timers, alarms, things like that. What do you think about that, Avidan?
That's also a discipline thing. You know?
Discipline. Thank you. That's the word, thing. Discipline. Thank you.
And that has to be built. And that's why I really love, you know, what you and Matt are talking about, because if we are unrestrained, then that's where those passions will go into areas that are dangerous.
Yeah.
So like, let's say if I ever were to get like a Final Fantasy and I'm just not going to do it. Matt was telling me this earlier, as far as something as simple as ketchup. Remember that, Matt? You were just like, there's unhealthy ketchup, you know, with the corn syrups and things like that. And then you've got like the healthy kind. And Matt's just like, I just don't eat ketchup because I don't want that healthy ketchup. It doesn't taste like the ketchup that is used to. It's just, no, there's no point. So he disciplined himself to just, I don't need ketchup anymore. You know, so there's that when it comes to even like games. But then you also have I'm going to discipline myself with the healthy games. So like you turn off certain kinds of games, or you can have time limits. These are things that you have to set, you know, and I told you guys, you know, we all know about my deliverance, and I'm not shy. I don't shy away from it. I tell people because there are millions of guys who suffer with this, you know, young boys who have no idea what to do because they're addicted and they don't know what to do. So I try to talk about it so that I can, you know, give my experience and what God has done for me. But there are things that you cut off the battle before you get to it. That's what a timer can do. You don't have to have the battle of battling addiction. If prevention's better than cure. So like, for instance,
that's a good quote. That's a quote. Prevention is better than cure. That is a quote right there.
Yeah. So I'm like, these are something that's practical that I do that really helps me. You got a slot machine in your back pocket. It's called your phone. Avidan was talking about that. So you don't have to go to the casino. The casino's coming to you. It's called the App Store. The casino's coming to you. It's called the internet. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to be looking for these inappropriate websites. They pop up for you.
Man,
if I put on
who are you telling, bro?
To try and help my algorithm, the first thing that pops up is that there are single
Mhm.
ladies that are looking. I'm like,
Bro,
what are you talking about? Like,
man,
you
you
know,
see
so
that, man,
it's like I'm
TikTok,
not
all
even
that stuff.
looking for it, and
Yeah,
it
it'll
pops up.
find you.
So what do I do? Well, guess what? At night, I take my computer and my phone and I put it in like the living room. Don't even put it to where you're gonna, because you know you're gonna get insomnia, you know you're gonna be up all night, and you know what's gonna happen at about 3 o'clock in the morning when
Yeah.
you're still up. So it's just
3
like,
o'clock is witching hour.
yeah, like find ways to do that. And if setting an hour for your video games disciplines you, you gotta do that. You gotta hit those things. You have
Facts.
got to
I
put
wanted
those things in place.
I wanted us to touch in on that because time management, if you don't manage your time will manage you. Your hobbies will manage you. Your appetites will manage you if you don't manage your time. You
Man.
need, it's like you need to be able, when it comes to video games or just in your enjoyment, you need to plan your leisure. And I think a lot of people aren't taught to plan your leisure with your work. When we have our schedule for the day, we always just have what we need to do. I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And you don't ever see influence my time, or a me time section where it's just me to do what that I want to do. It's like plan it in your schedule, whether it's a everyday thing. Nick had to bounce. Whether it's a whether it's an everyday thing or whether it's I gotta fix my camera. Whether it's an everyday thing or whether it's a weekend thing, where you tell yourself that, you know what, on this day, I'm gonna give myself this time to go ahead and just relax, just have some me time, whether I want to watch a movie, whether I want to play a video game, whether I want to just spend time and, still be available to your household, of course. But this day, and then for the rest of the days, go ahead and enjoy that. And I wanted to put out there, what if your Sabbath was supposed to look like more like that, where you're resting, where you're not thinking about all the task and work you need to do. Because if we're thinking about work 7 days of the week, there's something wrong with that. And I think there's more of an issue of idolatry and an addiction to work at that point that could far stretch beyond video games that isn't talked about. But that's a whole other topic at that point. So, yeah.
I know with what Yofi said, all of us also played different games. So for him, he was playing like games where you have more like female characters and stuff. For me, I know I played a lot of sports games and stuff. Every now and then I play like Spider-Man or something like that. So there is different points where people are tempted by different things depending on what the game they are playing as well. I know with Madden and 2K, you have the music, and here lately they've been putting a few Christian artists on there trying to mix them into the mix, but still you come in the room, you're like, yo, what is my child listening to? And you realize, oh, they're playing 2K. So we had got to the point one time we had turned all the music off on 2K and on Madden because they got that feature where they're not listening to that type of music.
See, yeah,
See,
when you
that's
start
a discipline issue.
when you start mixing the music like that, that's a totally different thing.
See, but it's all encompassing though, because when you talk video games, all of these things are there. Like for me, if you're a Christian, let's talk about sin. Let's talk about murder. Let's talk about things like justice and things like that. If you're gonna play a game like Mortal Kombat, where the purpose of the game is to viciously, maim and dismember, it's like, I believe that you're getting into like sin categories with that, because and the language in the game, everything in there. So you've got that. But then once again, go back to fitness boxing. I play fitness boxing a lot because I use it as a way to exercise. So if you just say video games, it's broad, but you got to get into those specifics. Like 2K, it doesn't have any of that violence that Mortal Kombat has. It's got none of those things. But then let's talk about the music. some of the music can be convicting. So I really think we can't just talk about video games. We have to get into like what game and also what household. What is your goal as a father or as a husband or as a minister or whatever position you have? What is your goal? Because if my goal is to not have my kids raised the way that I was, I'm not saying that my parents did a horrible job. What I'm saying is the spiritual security in my house, they bought us Mortal Kombat. You know, like we were we had anything in the house. It didn't matter. So spiritually, we weren't exactly model Christians. I wasn't a Christian at all. I didn't, I wasn't thinking about Jesus at all. So if your goal is to raise Christian children, for instance, well then yeah, you these games, your kids are not going to die if they don't have these games. I think that you just have to consider that. You have to consider these types of things. I am not going to love my wife if there are certain lustful things playing in my house at any time. So I don't care if the movie is PG-13. If there is any kind of nudity or what love scenes, none of that stuff is in my house ever. Because I'm like, you have to understand that stuff steals your loyalty. So think about that with video games. If you have an anger problem, you probably don't need to be playing Streets of Rage, man. You probably don't need any kind of that's not entertainment. That's feeding something that you think, oh, it's not going to affect me. No, it is, because it comes in through your gates. You're supposed to guard your gates. So if you're watching it, if you're hearing it, if you're touching, tasting, any of those things, yes, it does have an impact on you. It does. So I think that we need to be, as the Bible says, you're as harmless as a dove, but you need to be as wise as a serpent. You need to be as wise as a serpent. Don't think that this stuff is not affecting you.
Yeah, I think that's because I want to dunk and I can't do it right now. So
he said that's why he does it, because he can't dunk. So that's why he's playing 2K. I'm with you, bro.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say, to kind of piggyback off of Yofi, when we think of like lust and stuff like that, like we always go to the sexual aspect of lust, but there is a lusting for those kind of games where you can go around shooting people, or you can go around and like Mortal Kombat, where you're viciously just like taking out a whole lot of aggression and things like that. Like, it can be so much more than just that sexual aspect that we typically think of lust in, but and then feed, like he was talking about, feeding it through a different means. Like, yeah, you're not walking out the door and shooting somebody right now, but you're feeding that in this game, or you could be. I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying that you could be feeding it by playing that game.
Absolutely agree. And that's why it goes back into your why. Now, why are you playing this? Why is this interesting to you? Why do you like playing these types of video games? And that answer is going to be different from everybody. So I think we could start landing it here. It's about 8:30. We hit nearly an hour in. And this is, I want to be mindful that, Pastor Yofi has to get back to his family. So I do want to be respectful to that. But this was a good episode. It was good to have.
Final thoughts.
I want to circle it back. Can a Christian play video games? Yes, they can. But that yes, they can is met with so many other questions that I would say one area you can never go wrong with is ask the Father. No. I'm gonna teach y'all something. I'm gonna teach y'all something the Father showed me to start doing. Don't ever ask. I'm not gonna say, hear me out all the way. Don't ever ask the Father, can you do something? Ask the Father, are you okay with me doing this? And watch you get two different answers.
I say consider if Jesus is there physically, because a lot of times we try to separate our church life, so to say, with, you know, our work life. We compartmentalize a lot. You know, you put, this is my work life, and this is my church life, and this is my, you know, entertainment life, and this is my marriage over here. And you know what? No, it all blends together. So
stop code switching.
Say again?
Stop code switching. Stop trying to look different in every environment.
Yeah, like if my wife is sitting next to me, would this game be cool? You know, and if Jesus were to just instant transmission his way right into your room, right there, is this song I'm listening to okay? Is this game I'm playing okay? And quite frankly, some of the things that we're doing wouldn't be okay. We purposely block Jesus out. You know, even if we were to, because some things we wouldn't even do. You know, if you were playing what's a game that I something that's not necessarily like the Guilty Gear series. You know, they've got a lot of themes in there now that they didn't have before. But you wouldn't play that if Jesus was there. You wouldn't play this at your church. So it's just like, why is it okay here, but it's not okay there? Now, I'm saying some people have churches that might be a little too legalistic, but I'm just saying, like, you know, if I were to have, you know, any of you over at my house, would it be okay? And some of the games that we play, I'm talking to everybody here, you know, they wouldn't be okay. It wouldn't. It would not be okay to watch this anime or this movie if your 10-year-old son walked in the room and he walked in on that scene. You know what I'm saying? It's like, think about that. Sometimes I think that you should just take the hit, because you got to cut your hand off if it's going to cause anything. And I know what happened in my house because certain inappropriate material was in my house. It caused almost a 30-year battle. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like that a lot of guys don't ever get free from. So my final thought is, you know, I like that. Don't code switch. If this is not okay with your kid, or if you just think if Jesus was here, I ask that. If I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play, you know, Sonic, and I haven't played in a while, but like, let's say that I'm going to play Sonic, right? I ask Jesus to come with me. You know, I want you to play this game with me. And if at any time I'm going overboard, I want you to tell me to stop. You know, because I want to spend my life with Christ so that people can see the goodness of God in the land of the living. And they're not going to see that in my life if I am not willing to cut my hand off and take Jesus with me on this journey. If I'm just going to cut Jesus off at certain spots.
I would say what that does is preparing for eternity, because you got to ask yourself, what's going to be available on the new earth? If this is the only way you can find entertainment here, what are you going to find in the new earth?
Yeah, some people are going to be miserable when they get to the new heaven, new earth. They're going to be miserable.
That's something that I have to ask. It's like, you know, I tell people that because there was a time where I learned to have fun without video games and anime. And the Lord showed me that I can have fun with cooking. I can find enjoyment in reading. Like, and to some people on the outside looking in, that could look what a lot of people will call boring. But it wasn't for me. So it's like it's all about, it goes at the end of the day. Do you have hobbies, or do your hobbies have you? Do you have things that you enjoy? Does enjoyment have you entangled? So there's a lot that can go with that. And if you are someone who likes video games and everything, this is not a condemnation against you. It's not even a condemnation against you if you enjoy games like Tekken. I put Devil Jin on the cover for a reason with the Call of Duty guy.
That's the devil. Off. The main character is the devil.
He went there. I put him there for a reason because I want to provoke thought. I want to provoke thought of if I'm playing this fighting game and I'm getting really good at this fighting game, is this okay? And chances are it's okay, but is it expedient? Is it the best thing to do?
There you go. Is it the best thing to do? And sometimes it's really not, and that's where you get into the personal. Tekken is the devil. It's the devil. Is it the best thing? Because and I'm gonna. You hit something. I know that we're at an hour, so y'all forgive me if it's overtime. But here, I stopped playing video games for a long time. I had a book that I'm releasing that I legit threw away. I threw away every online copy that I could get for, I think it was like 5 years. And I learned how to be okay without video games, without any comics, without any of those things. And when I was so set in that, it was at that point that the Father told me, you can rewrite your book now. And I'm like, but aren't there certain things in there that you don't? He's just like, no, this time we're going to write it together. And there were some things that I changed, and there were some things that I didn't change that I thought was just so anti-God. And he's just like, no, trust me, I don't really care. And I'm like, but you didn't care back then. He's just like, no, it wasn't that your book was so bad or so evil. It was you. It's the fact that your heart is changed. And because your heart is changed, you can handle this. And I was just like, wow. First of all, it's like, and I cried because I'm like, the Father trusts me with this now. He didn't trust me with this and I had to throw it away. And now he trusts me to be okay. And who doesn't want to hear that from their dad? You know what I mean? Like, so with certain video games, yes, Tekken is the devil. But more than God hates Tekken, he loves you. So the question is Tekken an idol where you need to put it down? Or can you play this with God? And I'm going to be real with you. I can't play Tekken with God because I'm like, that's just, they got the language in the games now. And they got, I mean, Devil Jin and the whole, that's just me. But I'm not, that's Yofi. That's not anybody. But if God were to say, hey, I want you to play Tekken with me, let's play together, then I would be okay with that. And sometimes you just got to be okay with your relationship with God, your conviction, and stop trying to make everybody else have yours.
Man, we said it. That's the line of the night. Don't make your conviction everybody else's. So if you can't play, not you, for anyone here, if you, whoever's watching, can't play Call of Duty, don't tell everyone else can't play Call of Duty. If I'm gonna use this one. If you can't play Pokemon, don't tell everyone else they can't play Pokemon. You can't play Zelda, don't tell everyone else they can't play Zelda. But that be
Pokemon is the devil, it's the Illuminati. I've seen the YouTube videos, I know what I'm talking about, man.
It's on it. I saw it on the telly. It's on the telly. All right. Well, any last final thoughts from Matt or Aaron?
I forgot. I was something I was saying, but I forgot what it was. So you can just pass me by.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking? You
do not pass me by, but I'm on mute.
Goodness gracious. Matt, you have anything you want to say, man?
No, I think you guys hit it good. I think you guys hit all the key points. Like I said, just with the discernment, having discernment in the games and what you're playing, and just knowing what you're putting through your eye gate, your ear gate. Just knowing all those things.
Got it. All right. Well, in that case, I'm going to pull the plug here so everyone could get some rest for the rest of the night. Thank you all. Thank you for everyone who came out. To those of you who are over on Twitter, shout out to the people in the chat. Shout out to Joseph Brand over on YouTube, Aaron Dudley who joined the chat, Student Nintendo who's in the chat as well. Shout out to Taiwanda and Jess as well for being over on YouTube. And from Fat to Fit, all of you who chimed in on YouTube, I thank you all so much. To those of you on Twitter, all 26 of you, thank you so much for coming out. We do appreciate you all. And if y'all like this, if you're on Twitter, you can hit that like button. Yeah, hit the like button. You're on Facebook and YouTube, hit the like button as well. Hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Hit the follow button on Facebook and on Twitter. And most of all, you. And I'm talking to you. You make sure you share this with a friend. This is the Acknowledge Him podcast, and we are out. Peace, y'all.